You're listening to Cards to the Moon, a podcast about trading cards from both a collector and investor perspective. We hope you'll stick around for the ride as we take a deep dive into the state of the hobby, share some hot takes, hopefully some useful advice, and fun stories along the way. Hey all, welcome back to Cards to the Moon. My name is Clark from 5 Card Guys on Instagram. And with me, as always, is Hyung of Integrity Sports Cards and John at Trade You at Recess. And believe it or not, this is our 50th episode.
Crazy.
The three of us, crazy. The three of us started this little podcast, if you guys remember, back in June of last year when we realized we were always talking about sports cards anyways. So we thought we might as well record our conversations. And here we are 50 episodes later. So I just want to quickly throw it to you guys and ask, did you guys think we'd still be doing this almost a year later?
I thought we were going to do it regardless, but it is pretty crazy that we have this many opinions, on on a subject matter, right? So I mean, it's been a blast. It's kept me engaged more in kind of like the hobby as well, just doing your research and all the hobby headlines. Before, honestly, Clark, I never was a big hobby headline guy, so right. For me to discuss this is way out of my element, but it's a positive thing, right? It's something that challenged me to do things that I wouldn't have normally done. So it's been awesome, though. It's been a great learning experience for me too. But no, I'm proud of us for sure. It's 50 episodes is not easy. Obviously this is not what we do full time. We have multiple tasks and roles. You guys are parents. You guys have families. So yeah, it's not an easy feat, I'd say, and definitely proud of us. Yeah.
I'm surprised you say you're not a hobby headlines guy, because you're definitely very opinionated on a lot of these subjects.
I have to now, right? I mean,
right.
You're forcing me and to gouge my opinion, right? And
it's always value add. Hyung is always value add.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Yeah, I agree with
you, Johnny.
I agree with Hyung. I knew that we would do 50 episodes because we're just talking as usual. I just wouldn't have wondered. I wonder if anybody would be listening to us after 50 episodes.
For real.
But the fact that we're here and listen, the number of viewers or listeners are continually growing. Like it's amazing, and it's a big thank you to all the listeners out there. Incredible, very humbling for sure.
Yeah, that's what I was going to add too. Like it's first, it's been a lot of fun to do with you guys, and I think we got a lot more comfortable like 3-4 episodes in. The first few were like, just getting used to the dynamics of recording.
Right.
And now it's like, we're just another night talking about sports cards. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And second, of course, one of the best parts is the growing number of people listening to our podcast and giving us positive feedback. And we look forward to giving more value back to our listeners for our next 50 shows. All right, so to mark this half-centennial episode, I wanted to ask also, since we started recording last summer, do you think the hobby has changed at all? And if so, how? Like if you think about when we started back in June, the hobby was kind of in a different place. Just want to just curious about that.
Obviously there's a lot of storylines that have happened in the past year. But instead of getting into storylines, I'm just gonna say one of the surprising hobby things is base, the crash of base. That was a big surprise for me. I mean, when we first got into this back during the beginning of the COVID, when I first got into it and I started to connect with Hyung again, one of the weird things that I thought to myself was, I don't understand, and I'd ask Hyung, I don't understand how this base Luka rookie card, I don't think Luka, but whatever, this base of somebody, and then you get a numbered out of 199, and it would be not that much more expensive, And Hyung would always say, no, numbered, man, you gotta long-term, you gotta go numbered. And I would always think that's really weird how numbered is not that much more expensive than the base. And then last year we started to see the separation. And then this year with the crash of base, you now really see that separation, right? So one thing is okay, that it came true that numbered is going to separate itself from base. I think a lot of people were obviously predicting that, but I don't think many would have predicted base to crash this much. You know, like I could see some base crashing, like Luka at 20K and Zion at 20K, but to see things like Booker and Tatum and things that aren't as, you know, like pop count crazy to crash, like it's just almost as if this negative label is on base and you just have to like stay away from it completely. That was a big surprise to me in terms of hobby.
Yeah. I think the base. I wouldn't even say it's a crash. I'd say more like market correction, right? Like as time goes by, it's gonna get so low to the point where it's like, hey, is it too cheap now? Where you could potentially double it, right? Or maybe you want to lock it up, long term, and you don't really care about daily prices, right? So, yeah, I think numbered in the last year, like low pop cards. Stayed very strong, as seen in record-breaking deals or sales with PWCC and Golden, and even on my slabs, right? So I believe that that's still a positive trend in the market, but we predicted that there has to be a correction, because you've seen the kind of like sliding of, I guess, pricing when we kind of started this. Where's the market kind of gonna go, right? We said it was going to go into a correction, and I believe that we're still finding its correction. We really don't know, and there's still a lot of future left, like uncertainty, right? So I think that's why as time goes by, it looks like numbered cards are the way to go. Low pop and kind of like not the day trading game, but enjoy what you love to collect, and go after. Work hard, and your hard-earned money, spend it in a good investment that, you're going to, probably keep for years, right? That's the way I would love to see, sports card collecting become. And obviously you could go and make trades, right? So I think a lot of the hobbyists, the old hobbyists, they miss this part of the hobby. And I get it. Like it sucks that we don't have that, that hobby feel anymore, but as we gotta adapt is what I'm saying, right? Sure. Like regardless, the market is what it is, and it's not gonna stop anytime soon, and it's gonna keep going in ways that probably are gonna make people uncomfortable. But at the end of the day, I always say the markets they don't have emotions, right? All markets, right? So it only takes one person to kind of say, okay, this is what I believe I can accomplish with this, technology. And then, here we go. Right. Over the last year, it's been pretty crazy, I'd say. But I think sticking to the strategy to invest in GOAT type players, like we said, was important. And numbered if possible. Right. So I think, Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, you're right. Like when we started this podcast, like our episode 1 was asking the question, is this a sports card market implosion or correction? And I think we all agreed it was a strong correction. And I agree with you, both of you guys, that we're still kind of in this correction phase. When I first got into it, I didn't understand the whole base game either. Like I couldn't understand why some of the base cards had the value that it had, especially with the Luka and Zion. But then, upon further reflection, it was really about demand, right? When so many people came into the hobby, the demand was high. So that dictated the price, the cost. And with things simmering down over the past year, demand has gone to a lower level, and then the supply is still crazy for some of these base cards. And it just makes sense that it will see that strong correction. But I got to tell you the truth, like, when everything was selling, base cards, graded base cards, and I always got in, I didn't understand. I'm like, I'm staying away from base. I almost got into base. I'm like, oh, it's like, it's like people are making money left, right, and center. Yeah. I'm on the sidelines, not participating. I almost got into it, and luckily I'm like, I stayed off still and just kind of focused on, numbered cards. But yeah, like when it was hot, when the market was hot, yeah, people were making money off base easily. You know what I mean?
For sure.
But yeah, no, I think even now things are beginning to open up with the pandemic kind of hopefully coming to an end, and I think that means not as many people are in front of their computers. Maybe that's kind of cooled the market down a bit too. But I don't see it going to zero. If like the local card show that we just went to last week was of any indication, like the hobby is still bumping, right? And maybe it's filtering some of the collector investor types,
right? For sure.
But it's still pretty
sneaker
strong
flippers and those types.
Exactly, right. So, and on the cards front, yeah, I think as a whole, we're just definitely being more selective in what we want to invest in. So, like I mentioned, it's no longer just any PSA 10 base cards that we think we could flip easily, but instead it's cards that are more scarce, or even cards that just look cool visually. And Hyung, you mentioned already, and we say all the time, collect what you love, and it's really hard to go wrong when you take that approach. Yeah, so we'll see. Next year, I'm sure by the time we do our 100th episode, a lot more will have changed. NFTs will be in the game. And
finally.
Finally. Yeah. Tech, you know how fast tech moves. It moves very quickly. So. Right.
Yeah.
All right. One more thing before moving on to our next segment. We'll be doing a small giveaway for our podcast listeners. So just look for details coming out later this week on our Instagram at Cards to the Moon, all one word, for a chance to win something cool. Okay, with that, let's move on now to hobby headlines. So this week, John, you thought of a good idea for an episode that I think would bring a lot of value to many of our listeners, which is, when does it make sense to sell your cards for a loss? And I think this is a good question because A, no one bats 1,000 when it comes to making a profit on every card that we buy. And B, it's always good to pivot whenever the market changes drastically, which, it always does. So, John, I'll let you go first in explaining what you actually did recently in terms of selling one of your cards for a loss and then reinvesting it into another card. But afterwards, I want to open it up to talk more generally about different buy-sell strategies as well that might give more valuable insight to our listeners. So, John, you go ahead first. You want to tell us what you actually did recently?
Yeah. So for anybody that purchased cards from November 2020 to March 2021, when the market was on its meteoric rise, we're all probably holding the bag, myself included, on many cards that have gone down. And a lot of people, we have a bunch of friends that purchased most of their collection during that time, right? And a lot of people that have left the hobby as a result. You get very discouraged. You're upside down on a lot of cards. But one thing that we don't think about is, like, for example, for myself, I've been for the longest time looking for a nice Luka card. And Select Blue, we all know that's one that I've talked about over the entirety of all of our episodes. That card back in, so if you imagine all of the cards that I might have bought during the time when it was a peak, and some of them have, lost 60% of its value or whatnot. And then you look at that Luka card that I'm trying to target, and that card was once, $6,500, $7,000 at its peak. And now, if you look at it, I think the last sale was like $2,600, right? So if you really take the perspectives of the losses of your own cards, of, let's say a whole bunch of base, and then the losses of the card that you're actually targeting, it's pretty much equal. It's same, right? So I think if you take that perspective and that approach, it doesn't sting as much and it doesn't hurt as much. Like, nobody really wants to take an L. So you're very stubborn. You're very stubborn to sell. You're thinking in your mind, I'm going to hold it until it rebounds. But that's a thought process to take. If there's a card you're targeting, think about what it used to be worth when you purchased all these other cards, and you can make sense in that way, right? I think, and in general, if you take any losses, I think the general concept is, let's say you have a $500 card and it goes down to $200. You just have to ask yourself, do I believe the card I'm holding is going to multiply in the next 12 months better than another card I look at that costs $200 or whatever it costs, right? And if you believe the other card you're looking at can rebound quicker than the card you're holding, then I think that's the time to make the move, right? So
yeah,
it's just something to think about. That's kind of what's been going on in my mind right now.
Yeah, I think what John was saying is like almost taking a loss, but putting it into a card that can have more legs in the future too, right? So that way, you're buying it. You don't see it as a loss because you're still in on something that has a potential to grow, right? So I believe I've liquidated at a loss many times to fund an amazing, beautiful card just because I don't. Maybe I lost a couple hundred, but I'll make it back, in the future when I do sell that new card, right? So another thing that I'm learning too, even with my daily auctions that I close on Integrity Sports Cards, I if I release 3 cards or 4 cards, let's just say, and I'm closing 4 cards that night, so it would be equivalent to you selling 4 cards. I'm at a loss on 3 cards, but maybe I put up a card that, I was kind of deep in profits in, right? So I wanted to make, as a whole, I'll get whatever money I can get back. I'm still, maybe 50 points, in profit at that point instead of the 75, but I'm getting my initial investments back on, stuff that maybe wasn't a great investment. So I could almost take, 3 L's and 1 win and still come on top, right? So don't be afraid to sell like that as well, right? So I mean, it takes a little strategy, but I'm really noticing it comes in hand when I do when I try to organize my daily shuffle, essentially.
Yeah, for sure. No, I think that both make sense. And like, just to add on to that, for me personally, a couple cards I recently sold for a loss was, I think I mentioned in a previous episode, my Trae Young Silver Prism PSA 9, which I got for like $700-800 at the time, like a year ago, and I sold it for $250. Right? So that's
a bend me over loss.
That's a big loss, right? But to John's point, I reinvested that $250 and got a PSA 10 Silver Prism with Trae Young.
There you go.
For $800. The same thing, same amount I bought a PSA 9 for a year earlier.
Makes sense, yeah.
And that used to cost $4K, 4K. So the drop is like huge.
I take it back, Clark. That was a good move. It was a good move.
You didn't let me finish.
Yeah, exactly.
But one reason why I did that too is like you gotta look at the market. Like PSA, when the hobby's hot, PSA 9s were a good move, because not a lot of people can afford PSA 10 cards.
Right.
But when everything's coming down, you just see that the PSA 9 cards lose their value so much quicker than PSA 10.
For sure.
Right? So like I checked like recently how much that Trae Young PSA 9 is going for. It's like under 200 now, right? Whereas the PSA 10's kind of leveled off at that 700, 800 level. It's not going further down, hopefully, and so like, you I think, John, you mentioned it, like, we're stubborn in a lot of ways. So, we either have false hope that it's going to rebound and go back to what we spend on it. But in reality, what's more likely to happen, you're holding it to zero, right? So, or, close to, and you won't get those, you won't see a profit on some of the cards that you have. But,
right.
Yeah. But and another card, it was a Durant. This kind of hurt. The PSA 9 Topps Chrome I got for $2K, and I sold for about $650, $700. So yeah, and I put that into my Luka Doncic PSA 10 Silver Prism, which was about $2.3K. So nice. You're always moving, right? Always moving money, and try to not dwell on the losses, but like we all just mentioned, see how you can invest in cards that you have a better chance, or hope to have a better chance of seeing, or a higher upswing.
And I think a lot of people need to do a better job, like myself included. I think we get caught in the hype of media. Obviously, everyday sports plays a picture. That's not the time to buy, right? Like, I think when people were in it that do well in this space, when I did like my best, it was always 8 to 12 month cycles. Or like 8 to 12 month cycles that I'm looking at. Like, what's a cheap buy right now for next year, or 8 months down the road, right? Where I see today's prices and I'm like, this is way too cheap. You know what? I don't mind holding this for 8 months because I know when, season starts, it's going to triple or whatever it may be, right? So I think we get in, obviously, the FOMO area where, we see Acuna coming back like this week, right? You see, like, honestly, now is probably not the time to buy. I mean, obviously, there might be some cards that, have value, but in general, I think people get hurt the most when they buy on kind of like on emotion, essentially, right? Instead of logic, where they foresee it as a sound investment 8 months down the road, right? So, and that's what I always say. Look at it at long term and buy what you love, and I think with those two combination, you can't really go wrong.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the beauty of sports and like prospecting or whatever, if you're knowledgeable in baseball or hockey or whichever sport that you're the most knowledgeable in and you're investing in or collecting, you have the ability and the knowledge to sense players, right? We can also kind of prospect players. So for example, if I had bought, 10 Keston Hiura bases, PSA 10s at $30 each last year, that's $300. And right now those are going for 10 of them you could buy for $50, right? They're going for way less than the cost of grading. But now I have to ask myself, do I think Keston Hiura will rebound? But now you can kind of clearly see what kind of path the kid is on and be like, what? I don't see it coming back. And even though I'm taking a massive loss and it's only $50, what is $50? You could put that $50 and you're halfway to a Tatis base Topps Chrome PSA 10, right? And now you're putting that money into someone else who's also a buy low, but is one of the stars in the league, right? So I think that's the whole point. I think, number one, we can use our knowledge to our benefit. And that's when when you can bail out, when you kind of start to see the prospect or you start to see the player. You know what? I used to think he had a high ceiling. I'm not sure I'm that much of a believer anymore. I think that's the time, once you start to believe in yourself or you can make sense of your own knowledge, you can be like, this is the time to sell. Even if it's a major loss, trust your gut, trust your instincts, trust your knowledge. And I think and that's when you sort of make the move, right?
It's a good point. Yeah. Just having a stronger conviction of your plays, right?
Right.
So looking the other way, do you guys have a rule that you set for yourself in terms of when to sell for a profit? Like sometimes people just diamond hand it for a little too long, when you could have probably, might have been good to get out at 2-3x. And then, sometimes it comes back down. Like, do you guys have a set rule when you sell for a profit?
For me, I usually stick with, I have two types of like buys. I have buys that are liquid buys that I'm trying to flip. And then I have PC buys that I'm basically locking in the safe and looking at as a long-term investment, right? So for me, those are the ones I want to sell. Because once you sell kind of like those low pop cards, you're like, I can't get that back, right? Especially if you love it, right? So it's the paper hand's not worth it, right? Especially if you stayed with the process of buy what you love. If you didn't, then obviously paper handing would be very, very easy because you see the money and the profit. You don't really have any emotional attachment to it, right? So, when you look at it as an investment, you shouldn't really have too much investment or emotional attachment. But like, I think cards that you plan to keep for a very long time, I think it's great to have emotional attachments, even though they're big time investments, because over time I think you're gonna have a rare piece of that history. So I
like that.
Yeah.
John, any rule that you follow?
Not necessarily, but I'm kind of similar to Hyung. I'll have my PC cards or super long-term holds, and then I'll have cards where I can hold till whenever, and I think those cards, everybody should have some sort of strategy, whether it's the moment it 3x's, I will sell it. So just have some thought process in mind. Or, if something crazy happens, right? Like, this playoffs, Ja Morant, all of us, you're holding a bunch of Ja Morant cards, and we all know he's kind of like on everybody's radar, and he wins the first series. has 2 50-point games and his card is going to the moon. I think if something really special happens out of nowhere, you're holding Tiger Woods cards, he comes back, he wins the Masters, something like that, something where just something exponential, some sort of exponential event happens. I think that's something to kind of pique your interest to sell at that moment, because especially if it's not something too rare, like Hyung said, something you would regret because you just can't get back at a later time. If it's something you know you can get back, those are moments to definitely take advantage. Even if it's, like we'd say, sell during the playoffs for basketball, sell right now. We're mainly talking about things like base and silver, mainly liquid cards that you could get back on a later date. There's nothing wrong with buying $1,000 card, selling it for $1,300. It's not even that much of a multiplier, but you take home the $200 after, fees and whatnot. And then in the off season, you buy back in at, $900 or something like that, right? So you've profited and you've come back in lower, right? So,
yeah,
those are just things. Yeah, those are things to just keep in mind.
Yeah, for sure. Just curious, what's that Tiger Woods card that you have? Which one was that again?
Which one?
The Tiger Woods that Johnny has.
We both have the 2001.
Both of you have it.
Yeah,
the SP Authentic.
SP Authentic Gold.
Right. Okay. How much is that going for now?
We don't know. I don't think there's been. I mean, the PSA 9 recently sold for $29.50 USD, and we're both holding the PSA 10s. So
there's 14 of them. So we have 2 of them.
Yeah.
So
okay, let's say it's $7,000. Conservative, probably more.
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't sell. If that's what you're asking.
Yeah.
Let me finish. Here we go. All right. Just say he won the Masters.
Right.
He didn't, of course, but $30,000.
$30,000.
Oh.
You know what? Personally, I probably wouldn't. I'd tell him, hey, my buddy John has one. So it's a win-win, right?
Yeah.
4x from $7,000.
I know.
Yeah. I'm in it for $1,800. I'm in it for $1,800 of PSA 10. So like for me, it's like I've seen it sell for over $10,000.
Right.
And I could have 5x'd it, 6x'd it, but for me, I bought it because there's only 14 in the world. It's Tiger Woods, who's the best golfer of all time. He's changed the dynamic and history of the sport. He has an incredible story. He's still playing after he almost died in a car accident. Like for me, that card is a grail, right? And it's SP Authentic. The only better card you could get really is auto, right? At that point. Yeah. So it's a gold too. And the card looks spectacular. So it's I'm probably a hold still.
Honestly, I'm the same too. I'm only in on it for about 3, but it's one of these long term. I always even on a PC level, I wanted like a big Tiger Woods card. At the time, I couldn't afford it. I mean, like they're way too expensive. The autos, like at a minimum, it's like $3,000, and it just wasn't in my wheelhouse. And then, if people follow my Instagram, I was able to swing a trade. I got lucky because my $350 Otani Sapphire PSA 10 that I got turned into $4,500, right? And I used that as one of the main pieces in the trade, right? So,
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. No, I think it just goes to the point. Like, if you're emotionally attached to it, it's your PC. Of course, you're gonna diamond hand it. But if it wasn't like that, I feel like for me, if I had the same card, it's gone. $30,000 is gone.
Yeah.
I would get something else with it, right?
Yeah.
But
if it was something like the Tatis Blue Refractor, where I love Tatis, but it's not quite as like a special card, and then that card all of a sudden ballooned to like $15,000. Yeah, I think for sure I would sell it. But the Tiger Woods is just a bit different. It's like it's rare. it's a gold. He doesn't really have that many like gold rookie cards. Like it's a little different than your average piece that we have. So.
Sure. See, that's the key. If all owners of the Pot 14 hold, okay, agree to hold, period. This is the real money game, right? Like this is supply and demand, true supply and demand, right? And that's why people target low pop and corner the market sometimes, right? So I have a chance to corner, a couple big Tatis cards, right? There's only pop 2s in a couple, like the Independence Day PSA 10, right? And the Father's Day Blue. Right, so it's like those cards. If I see one available, I'm gonna buy it because I have both that exist. Right, so so I think those high pop cards, they're a different game. And I think over the long run, I guarantee you, if we say, let's stop card collecting altogether now and come back and revisit in 5 years, I guarantee you all the low pop cards we will win on. I guarantee you. Immensely too.
Yeah.
Right?
I agree. The only issue is human beings aren't. There's always one greedy person that just wants to cash out.
Yeah.
Or undercut. Oh man.
Undercut. For sure.
Then there's a cascade the
Right.
opposite direction. Yeah. I won't talk about NFTs, but that's the problem with NFTs.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
There's just people that just want to, paper hand everything and
Right.
And then just lowers the value. But anyway, that's another episode altogether. Any last other buy sell strategies that you want to share or?
No, for me, I think I be smart, do your due diligence. There's no easy money. It's all thought carefully, strategized. Everybody who does well in investments, we're talking crypto, stocks. It's not saying you're gonna bat 1,000, but if you do your due diligence, at least it's gonna give you the opportunity to get better in that field too. You're going to meet new people with different conversations because you have a different viewpoint, and it's only going to better your hand in terms of what you're going to know in terms of your knowledge that can be applicable to kind of like your daily, I guess, live and investment portfolios, right? So,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I think more than any strategy or thing you can do, I think the main thing is your mindset. If you set out to do something, if you set out to make a strategy, you set out to take a risk or not take a risk, if you're confident in that and your mindset is good on that, I think that's good enough. If you took a big risk on some small prospect and you put big money into him and you understand I'm taking a risk here and it doesn't pan out, have the mindset. You know what? I take the L on this one. I tried taking the risk. I tried to hit a home run. It didn't work out. I struck out. And you move on to the next instead of like really beating yourself up or, having like regret of FOMO or whatever, right? So I think just having the right mindset, being confident in your research and your plays. And if you happen to take an L, that's it. You just take an L and you move on to the next, right? So I think dwelling on losses, dwelling on what ifs and all that stuff can really get to your head, right? And it can really discourage you. So I think mindset is probably more key than anything else.
Love it. Yeah.
I like what Hyung says, all the time. Like, if it doesn't work out, you have a story to tell, right? It's always fun to, talk about your losses, maybe a year later, but when it's not so fresh. But yeah, for sure. All good advice. All right. I hope most of our listeners found it useful. Maybe we'll do this as a reoccurring segment every now and then. All right, let's go on to our next segment, which we're simply calling Match Game. Okay, so this is really another version of buy, sell, or hold. But the twist is I'm going to give you a set of 3 names, and you have to match each name only once to either a buy, sell, or hold. All right, so essentially,
Tricky.
You have to buy one, sell one, and hold one of the names that I'm giving you right now. Okay, and I've got 4 sets of names for each of the major North American sports: baseball, basketball, football, and hockey. And we'll start with baseball. All right, so buy, sell, hold. Acuna, Ronald Acuna, Fernando Tatis Jr., Juan Soto. Which one are you buying? Which one are you selling? Which one are you holding?
You're killing me, Clark.
This one's just for you, Hyung.
The Acuna gods are gonna not like me.
Okay.
Because I'm selling Acuna right now. I'm buying Soto. I'm holding Tatis.
Oh, okay. Why are you selling Acuna?
I mean, there's high. He hasn't played a game, and his prices are astronomical in terms of his high end stuff, right? And it's only I feel like going up, especially with his early return. I mean, he played his first AAA game in Gwinnett yesterday and almost hit a bomb. And he looked great out there, so he's ready to play. I think there's an Acuna hype. I still think obviously Tatis is injured, so he's super cheap. So he could even be the buy. And
buying Soto instead.
Yeah, you know what? Let's flip that. I'm gonna buy Tatis
Okay.
and hold Soto because I do like that as well. But I think both Soto and Tatis are a buy, so can't go wrong.
Okay, John.
I'm gonna go sell Soto, hold Acuna, and buy Tatis. I think we're probably all in agreement to buy Tatis because he's probably the lowest of the three. Acuna, I like it's a hold. If you're holding big cards, his hype is building up. People have been waiting and waiting and waiting, and Acuna is that type of player to just walk in and to hit 3 bombs in 2 games, just do something magical. He is that type of person. So I think a hold to wait for something magical to happen. And Soto, he goes through waves every year. Everybody says it. Soto, he's a beast. He's the next Ted Williams. Hyung's been saying it for forever. And preseason, his cards just explode right up to the beginning of the season. And then there's some kind of lull. Just like right now, he came out of the gates flying, and he's kind of like simmering down. And I think people are going to kind of forget, and there's going to be an opportunity to buy him again. So I think Soto goes through waves. Right now is a time to sell him. Acuna, I'll kind of agree with Hyung. He almost made me flip-flop here. It's not a horrible thing to sell Acuna, but out of the 3, I'm going to say Acuna is the hold, and then Tatis is obviously the buy.
Yeah. Interesting. I'm going with buy Tatis. Like, I'm actually looking actively for a good Tatis card because his prices are dipping for sure. I think the last first Bowman Chrome Auto, BGS 9.5, sold for just under $3K, which is,
right.
It's like
we've never seen those prices. Yeah.
Sapphire I think is under 2. The gold out of 2019 is like, I think down to like 1,200. I talked about 1,200, the 1,200 mark like a long time ago.
That's a great card, by the way. I'll say that right now. Tatis Gold, Topps Paper Gold. I believe it's a pretty low pop as well. I think I want to say like 175. I could be way off, but that Tatis Gold under like 1,300 is a steal. Mm-hmm. That to me that's a $3,000 plus card, and it can hold value because of the super low pop. Usually golds are a little more than that, but I think that's a great buy.
Do you have one?
Sorry, side note. I do have one. Yeah.
Before this card airs, I'm gonna see if I can select one. Maybe I'll pivot to that instead of waiting for our first Bowman Auto to go lower.
I think it's a great card.
So low,
you'll be happy. You'll be happy.
All right. And so buy Tatis. I'm selling Acuna and holding Soto.
Right.
I agree with I'm so bullish on Soto. He'll have an outstanding career, and it might dip, but it's still like what 8,000 for a base. Like it's not going down that much if at all. And he's historically a slow starter, but he always picks it up mid-season to the end.
Always,
right?
Oh yeah.
Like that's his MO. And so I'm holding Soto for the long run. And then Acuna, like you already mentioned, I don't have to go deeper. Like his prices haven't dipped at all since the ACL tear. So I think it's that if anyone's gonna dip for a little bit is when he comes back, and maybe he has to adjust to the MLB, to being at the show. Maybe there'll be a dip then to buy back in. But right now, the hype's so strong. He's about to come back. Yeah, I'm going to take advantage of that and sell. All right. Second set of names. These are the NBA, probably the top MVP nominees. Giannis, Jokic, and Embiid. Which one are you buying? Which one are you selling? Which one are you holding at this point?
This one's tough. It's almost like, I guess it has to be for me, Giannis sell, Embiid buy, and Jokic hold.
Okay.
Wow.
I just think Giannis prices are like the only they're the only high ones that are enough to sell at this point. Joel Embiid is next to nothing, so he's a buy. And I was looking at Jokic's prices, and it was like $500-$600 for a Prism.
Mm-hmm.
Like
right.
I was shocked.
Yeah,
base. I know it's the base game, but even the silver, the Prism, I think at $2,900. Come on, like for that type of and I will say this, Clark. You said, hey, back-to-back MVP season. I said no.
Yeah.
And we might see it happen. So what would that do to his prices, right? So I'm a hold on him.
Okay. What are you doing, John?
This one's easier for me. Yeah, Jokic, I talked about this. Jokic is a buy. I'm going to put Giannis at a hold, and Embiid is a sell for me. I mentioned Jokic as a buy before, the Prism at under $600. Embiid, I mentioned, it'd be a great time to sell when his Philadelphia Sixers sweep in the first round, which I hate to say because it might come at the cost of our beloved Raptors.
Raptors, sure.
But I think that's a great time to sell Embiid. That's it.
Yeah, I'm actually going to go with John on this one. I'm buying Jokic, well, for the same reasons you guys mentioned. Just too cheap for the caliber of player that he is. I'm holding Giannis because really I'm selling Embiid. Like, he is cheap. Like, that's what makes me pause, definitely.
Yeah,
and I can understand why Hyung would definitely buy Embiid. But I don't know. Just I feel like out of the three, in terms of value over time, I think Giannis and Jokic will hold their value much better. So I'm going to sell Embiid on the hype of like John, his current playoff success. Okay, right. We're going to hockey now. Connor McDavid, Auston Matthews, and Sidney Crosby. This one's for you, John. What are you doing? Buying? Which one are you buying? Which one are you selling? Which one are you holding?
Yeah, I am buying Crosby. I think he's the buy low of the three. I'm holding McDavid, and I'm selling Matthews. Even though I would love to have, even though I love to have Matthews, but Matthews is on the cusp of a 60-goal season, which is pretty incredible, and he is going to start to be in the conversation of, one of the best snipers in the game right now, and I think that's going to really, it already has, but it's going to start to make his cards rocket. Past the like McKinnon, Draisaitl territory and getting closer to McDavid. I don't know if it'll get to that high. But Matthews, I think it's a great 60-goal season. There will be a time we can get back in, especially something liquid like a Young Guns with some more population. So yeah, that's a number for me. Sell Matthews, buy Crosby, hold McDavid.
I like it. Matthews definitely a sell. I've been selling Matthews for the past couple weeks. McDavid's prices are taking a little hit, so I think he's definitely a hold. And Crosby, I think his prices are way too cheap for what he's accomplished. Just comparing even McDavid's prices. Obviously, they're actually kind of similar, aren't they? Crosby and McDavid's prices, I guess.
I think so. Yeah.
It's getting there. I think it's pretty close, but I would agree with John on this one, and go hold the McDavid and buy Crosby, sell Matthews.
Okay, I'm gonna take a different angle. I am buying McDavid. I know it's expensive. Like, I'm not actually buying McDavid because I got to save up for it. But on the dip, I just think McDavid's going to be one of those generational talents that everyone's going to be talking about.
I can't argue it.
Decade later, you know what I mean? Like, we're going to see the record shows for itself, and he's going to be top of mind for sure too. So I'm trying to get McDavid now before it goes up even further. I'm holding Matthews. Maybe it's a local thing. I feel like, as long as Matthews starts producing, you could sell him at any of our local card shows.
Right.
Because,
for sure,
people are buying
so
Matthews
liquid.
all the time.
Unbelievably liquid.
In Toronto. Yeah.
We
saw that, right? At our local card show this past week. And I'm selling Crosby. I'm with you guys. I think Crosby is very undervalued, but I don't know how many of our American friends will see it that way, even down the road. Like, is there a big enough market for Crosby to have his card value be what it's actually should be worth? Right. I'm not so sure.
Fair enough.
So yeah, I'm gonna say buy McDavid, hold Matthews, sell Crosby. All right, and we'll end off this segment with football. Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady, and Aaron Rodgers, three marquee quarterbacks.
This one is tough. This is tough. Oh boy.
Who wants to take a stab? Who's buying who? Who's selling who? And who's holding?
I don't know.
I'll go. For me, Mahomes and Brady has to be a buy and hold between the two, between the three. I like Aaron Rodgers' price, but
I do too.
You know what? He's had two great seasons, Aaron Rodgers, and
he did.
You know what? His prices have gone up a bit from the past, so I'm gonna say sell Rodgers. Obviously hold Brady and buy Mahomes because I think Patrick Mahomes' prices have taken a dip over the last year. I remember his like XRCs were north of 12K, you know, and now they're like half that maybe. So yeah, I'm going Mahomes with a buy and Brady a hold.
Okay, I like it.
Oh, this one's really tough. I'm going to say, I just changed my mind right now. I'm going to say buy Rodgers. You know, people harp on him. He's like one of the greatest regular season quarterbacks of all time, but he's still elite, and he's coming back, and I think he's going to give it, you know, he's going to have another chance to do it again. And his cards, some of his big time cards are really affordable in comparison to other great quarterbacks. And Rodgers is probably, you know, I'm guessing he's going to finish in the top 10 all time for quarterbacks. So I think he's a good buy. I also think Mahomes is a good buy, but I'm a little worried that his card is going to fall even further than what it is at right now. So I will say Mahomes is a sell and Brady is a hold.
Okay.
I'm still like very, you know, my eyes are still on Mahomes, but I'm actually a little bit concerned that it'll go even less, which is probably good news for Clark, you and I, because we've always been kind of wanting one. But I'm a little worried in talking, you know, at present day right now, I feel like Mahomes cards could go down even further. So I will say Mahomes is a sell, and you can come back into it later if you have Mahomes cards right now.
No, I could totally understand that. But I'm actually going with Hyung's order. I'm buying Mahomes, holding Brady, and selling Rodgers. So Brady's a obvious hold. He's going to just be, you know, his card value is just going to go up over time. But yeah, to that point about Mahomes' card value, like I've been looking at his Opticolo for a very long time, and it's not you know, breaking the 3K mark. You know, it's not going lower than that. So I think that's the, you know, the bottom right now, right? Like for sure, it seems to just kind of have heavy resistance there. Yeah. So so yeah, I'm afraid, like I've been burned so many times on these kind of marquee players where I'm like, oh, I could go lower, and then it just doubles the next season. You're like, oh, I should have bought it when it was 3K, you know? Yeah. So I really want to get a Mahomes Opticolo for, you know, around that price. So I'm kind of, you know, looking to buy Mahomes now before it goes up, because I'm just bullish on Mahomes in general. And selling Rodgers. Like Rodgers, definitely his rookie cards certainly have value, so I might as well cash out now. And out of the three, definitely selling Rodgers. All right, I think we could have more fun with buy, sell, hold, or this match game with any combination of three amazing players from each sport. So we'll do it again in a future episode. All right, let's end off this episode with our regular weekly segment that we call Pick One. And this week it's our regular edition, which is just each of us putting up two cards or sets, and we debate which one we would rather invest in. All right, so Hyung, do you want to start things off?
Sure. I'm going to go with a Topps Chrome rookie auto. So in general, a Topps Chrome rookie auto versus a Bowman first Chrome auto. So if somebody's like, what should I invest in? There's two cards of, let's just say Vladdy. There's a 2016 Bowman first Chrome auto, and then in 2019, there's a Topps Chrome auto. I don't know what to invest in. What should I invest in? What's the difference? What's the better value? What's the better upside? What do you guys think?
Yeah. So this is mostly for baseball, because we're comparing Bowman.
Yeah. This is going to be a baseball. Right? I'm a baseball guy, so I'll stick with what I know.
Just to clarify, yeah.
Yeah.
Johnny, you go.
Oh, man.
I'm still deciding. That's why.
I know, right? Clearly, I think Topps Chrome, the rookie autos, oh man, it's tough. Bowman first has, you know, when I first got back into it in 2020, it was actually pretty close. But I think the whole Trout, you know, his first Chrome. I mean, they didn't call it first Chrome auto back then, but his first Bowman card, it really started to set the bar for Bowman first, and I think it's taken a huge leap versus Topps Chrome. Mm-hmm. So I think the easy, I don't know.
Because you got to remember, I did this, because Topps Chrome is going to be undervalued in terms of a lot cheaper. Because in the bigger stars, you're going to see a huge, massive premium for a Bowman First Auto. So would that be a better investment?
Totally.
I'm just trying to figure out where my money is going to be best spent. I know I threw a wrinkle in you guys' brain, but let's go.
I'm going. You know what? I'm going to ride the wave with Bowman First Chrome Auto. It's more expensive, but the way some of these bigger cards are moving and the way the hobby is eating up Bowman First, maybe it's a bit of a fad, and maybe Topps Chrome Auto pushes in the future. I could see that. So I don't know. I'm not sure which one I'm not picking either with confidence, but I'm going to ride that Bowman First Chrome Auto wave and pick that as a better investment, even though the price tag is probably 4 or 5x. I just think that just people love it right now. They're eating it up, and there's not that much out there for most of the stars, even a base like non-refractor. So even if, like people eat, even if it's like a BGS 9 Auto 9, like people are still eating that stuff up, right? So yeah, I'm going to go Bowman first.
Yeah. Man, when I saw this question, I think it largely depends on your budget, right? Like if you can afford it. For me, if you can afford it, go first Bowman Chrome Auto. But I understand the argument of, the lower price point of Topps Chrome. Like honestly, if you don't have the budget, like Topps Chrome Auto is perfectly fine. It's actually great.
Totally.
Like I have I have plenty of Topps Chrome rookie autos of players that I don't want to, or I don't, want to spend all my money on their first Bowman Chrome Auto. Right. But if you can, I'm going with first Bowman Chrome Auto. But yeah, like that's hard.
I think this question is similar to that question we had, like a listener had about. Remember the Joe Burrow where we didn't like buy 1 silver or buy 4 optics.
Right.
I think it's very similar to that. I don't think either can go wrong if one of these players pops off like Vladdy. Whether you're holding a $10,000 first Chrome or you're holding 4 $2,500. Sorry, did I say so? Bowman first, $10,000 Bowman first, or 4 Topps Chrome Autos. I don't think you can go wrong. And if you hold the strategy, they're both going to go up equally in ratio. I believe. So if you're the type to you like a bit of PC and sell, I think maybe the cheaper version, getting multiples of the cheaper version might be the play if you can afford it, right?
I think if it's a marquee player too, like if it's a Vladdy, I'm going to try to get the first Bowman Chrome.
Right.
But if it's like a above average player,
Eloy,
maybe I don't. Eloy is a good one.
Or Chisholm, Jazz Chisholm.
Chisholm is a good one too. Like I might, if I want to get in on him, I don't want to invest that highly in, I don't have as strong a conviction with those players.
That's true.
I might go with the Topps Chrome at that point. But if it's like a Juan Soto, if I could afford a Bowman Chrome, I'm holding it because I feel like with marquee players, when they do pop off, like everyone's gonna like big money's they're all gonna want Bowman Chrome, and they're gonna be willing to spend it. So,
okay, you know what? My answer is Bowman first as well. But looking back at all my moves, I probably didn't make much money off of any Bowman first because they were already inflated. Like by the time they made the major leagues. But then where I won out the most was Topps Chrome like Vladdy Ricky autos that I bought raw for like a gold wave for like $500, for instance, gold wave auto, right? And then you grade it and then you end up selling it for like 3-4K, right? So to me, you can't do that really on the Bowman first auto because 2016, like when those cards started coming out, there was already a hype and there was already a kind of like a floor in terms of price, right? So there was the hype baked into it. So I don't know if the reason why I guess I asked this question is I believe that there might be more opportunity if you're early enough in the Topps Chrome game. I
can see that.
Just because the Bowman Chrome has already been out there and Topps Chrome might be new and fresh. There's grading opportunities where you can multiple your money. You're not, really buying slabs at that point. And you could even multiply that if it grades well, right? So my heart says Topps Chrome because obviously I've done that, but like my head saying Bowman first chrome auto is the right answer. So that's what I'll give. I'll leave it at.
You know what? That's a good point. Because I was thinking this question in my mind. I was thinking of guys like Vladdy, Acuna, Soto, right? Not thinking of, Mayer and like all of these young guys that, already their refractor autos are like $5,000. I'm not thinking of those guys, right? So you're actually right in terms of like the young guys who haven't proven themselves. There is so much risk versus eventually if the Topps Chrome comes out later on. So it's a good point.
So we're all saying it's a smart move to get Topps Chrome, but we all choose Bowman Chrome.
Pretty much. And therefore, do not listen to us.
Yeah. You want to make money? Go get the Topps Chrome. All right. That's a good one. I'll go second because mine is kind of related to that.
Okay.
So it's the Vladdy. I'm choosing Vladimir. So like a marquee player, to your point, John. A Vladdy Topps Chrome green refractor. So it's numbered to 99, autographed. Versus Vladdy Bowman Chrome, first Bowman Chrome base auto. Both graded BGS 9.510 to keep it consistent. They both go for $3,000. So you got your Topps Chrome, which we say is the smarter move, but there's the Bowman Chrome just has more prestige to it, I guess. But
this segued really nice into this.
No,
this is more specific. This is an example.
It's a perfect example.
There you go. Let's see what we'll actually do.
I'll go first.
Okay.
I'm gonna pick the Topps Chrome green refractor auto.
Right.
I think it's a beautiful card. Just period. Like his 2016. I don't know his autograph. He needs some. He's a little young with that, right?
Has to learn to.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
So I believe his green is so underrated one, but I think his Topps Chrome auto is one of the best looking cards of his. Period. Because it's on card auto, it's a batting image. He has a white uni on, and it's just especially the colors in Topps Chrome that year. They hit different than like 2018, 2017, the previous years. So I'm gonna go Topps Chrome green refractor auto.
Okay.
There, I answered it.
You're consistent with what you normally do. So there you go.
This is tough because from a personal level, I don't like base. It doesn't look all that special, but it is Bowman first, and I don't like green refractors. I don't like the way it looks. And I'm sure most of the market agrees with me because Topps Chrome greens are numbered at a 99, and most blues out of 150 will outsell the green, right?
Right.
But in this instance, you know what? I'm gonna side with Hyung on the green. I think when you have both of these cards in hand, no matter how much I hate green, only looks great on like Jason Tatum green, the green prism. Right. No matter how much I hate it, when you hold like a refractor in hand, whichever color, and by the way, purple is also supremely underrated.
Yeah.
It still looks beautiful. I will say it still looks beautiful. It's numbered at 99. It's an autograph on card. So from a personal level, they both have, they're both great, but I think the green is a bit underrated. And on a personal level, I think I would enjoy the green a little bit more. So I will go green.
All right. Yeah. I guess I'm the only real baseball card snob because I'm staying with the Bowman Chrome first.
I knew
we saw that coming.
You could kind of tell by our collection.
Totally. Oh yeah, totally.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's so funny.
You guys know I already have the first Bowman Chrome.
I own no Bowman first.
I'm like, would I trade this for a Topps Chrome green refractor autograph? I'm like, no, never. So, yeah, maybe it's because like Hyung too, we're primarily where we started off as baseball card collectors. So, Bowman Chrome has a certain, I don't know, I just have a personal preference towards it, but yeah, I thought this would be a hard one. So yeah, I'm sticking with Bowman Chrome. All right, John, you go ahead.
I will say one thing. Just we talking about losses is random. I had a Topps Chrome Vladdy green auto. I got raw, submitted it to BGS. So I bought raw at the time, I believe, for like $350.
Wow.
And that was expensive at the time.
Sure.
Because you start getting. I remember I paid like $600-700 for the gold wave, right? So 300, 400, even for Tatis. But anyways, I sent that green into BGS and BGS 1010.
Wow. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, and then I thought I was a champ, and I sold it for $1,300. Like I was on top of the world. Anyways, go ahead, John. I took a L on that one.
That's like a 10K card now, right?
Yeah.
Oh boy. Okay, it feels like it's another baseball episode. I'm sticking to the baseball theme. This has been on my mind, and I've been wanting to kind of get into this. So it's a personal question. Better long-term hold of a marquee baseball star, one of the young baseball stars, and we're gonna leave Bowman first out of this. So it's just Major League cards, flagship. So we're going to go with Soto Chrome Update Refractor numbered out of 250, PSA 10. Roughly the last one sold for $5,200 versus any single card around that 5,000 mark of either Acuna, Tatis, Vladdy, or Ohtani. So like, I don't know, one that came up to mind is the blue refractor that I have of the Tatis, worth about $4,200. Acuna Sapphire worth about $6,000. So long-term hold, update out of 250, and you guys know, we all know Soto cards super rare, especially numbered, 5K versus any other $5,000 card of any young superstar. Which is the better long-term hold? And this might kill me because I actually want to try to get that update refractor. And if whatever you guys answered by the time this episode comes out, I might be lessening my chances with all these other people going out and buying it.
Me being the owner of the Soto Chrome 10 Auto, I will say that the card is amazing, and like Soto in general, if you have a chance, even at 5K, I think it's a great buy. Like I would buy that because you're putting it up against, any other card out there. Like for me, I think there's better value in a bigger card of, like, let's just say Vlad, for instance, like a Topps Chrome Auto, a colored, like a gold, a gold wave Topps Chrome Auto at that 5K price, right? I personally would like that over a Soto. I had the Soto Auto and I loved it. I actually sold it, but that shows you how much I actually liked it. But for me, Soto is tough to grab though, just in general. I'm telling you, he's very hard to pull the trigger on because his prices are so high. And when you see a good deal, you got to be ready, liquid enough to pull the trigger. That's why it's so tough to bring home a Soto, right? So I'm gonna go with like a Topps Chrome Vladdy Auto, like a gold wave, almost at 5K.
So you're going to the field.
Like
got it. Okay. Man, I think for me it just boils down to which player you value the most if you're thinking about long-term hold.
Right.
And like I mentioned in the previous, discussion, like I'm so bullish on Soto. If you could get a hold of one, especially a nice card like the Chrome Update, I'm going with that and holding. So, and there are a lot of, it makes it harder because there's so many other good choices on the other side. Like, I agree, like the gold Vladdy I would love to have, but if I'm thinking about which one do I feel safer with as a longer term investment, I think I'm just going to hold on to Soto, especially if it's a card like a Chrome Update. So Soto.
So it's more the player based.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I asked this question because when I saw the last sold of the update refractor, and I've been looking at Soto for a while, and even his rainbow, like to get into something other than base, you're looking at obviously rainbow foil and the pink refractor underrated on the Topps Chrome Topps Chrome side, very underrated. But they're still going for, I think right now I don't know if it's shield bidding or real, but some of these numbers have been popping up to like 1,600 for each of those cards. So they're getting up there, and we all know Soto cards are rare. to get that flagship image, numbered, refractor. You know, when I saw 5K, I thought to myself, now, would I trade my Tatis blue for that card? I love Tatis, but in terms of just like, again, kind of going back to that Tiger Woods gold, something rare enough and special enough that I feel has supreme long-term value. It made a lot of, it was like, yeah, I would absolutely in a heartbeat cash in my blue refractor to get that PSA 10 update out of 250, right? So that's now what I'm thinking. I think that Chrome update at 250 is at 5,000 is the better value amongst any of the young cards at five grand. I think it's a great buy. I even was thinking, man, if we find like the Topps Chrome Gold out of 50 in the wild, because the last one sold in January for 20K, I was even in my mind, I'm like, would I trade my entire big boy collection to get that gold refractor? I'm like, I actually might do that. Like that's how
start all over.
Like that's how I think, especially gold Sotos, anything rare Soto in that flagship image, man, I think long-term hold it, like sky's the limit. So.
Well, we'll see at the end of the year when Tatis comes back with 300 at-bats and still leads the NL in home runs. Yeah. And your blue is, you're like, I'm going to hold this to the moon, you know?
Totally.
Yeah, we'll remember this episode.
Yeah.
And then
especially if I pull it. If I pull the deal.
Yeah.
Oh man.
All right, great show, guys. Just want to give a shout out to my co-hosts Hyung and John for making the first 50 episodes a lot of fun to record, as well as a shout out to all our guests that we've interviewed in the past year. We hope to have many more this season. And lastly, of course, we want to thank all our listeners and subscribers to our podcast. We love connecting with you guys, and we hope you'll stick around for our next 50 shows. And as always, you can reach out to us on Instagram at Cards to the Moon, all one word, or at 5cardguys. And we'll be back for another new episode next Tuesday. See you then. Hey, thanks for listening to Cards to the Moon. We'd really appreciate you subscribing to our podcast wherever you listen to your podcasts. And you can also connect with each of us on Instagram at 5cardguys, or you can follow Hyung at Integrity Sports Cards, or John at TradeU at Recess. You can also check us out at 5cardguys.com. Thanks again, and hope to connect soon.